Hello, everybody, and welcome to Music Industry Insights Worldwide. Today, we've got the awesome Michelle from Australia with us. Hi, Michelle, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And thanks again for coming on the show, sharing your expertise, your time, your effort, as well as being in a different time zone. Completely, we messed up a few times, but you're here now. And we want to thank you ever so much for being here and sharing your story and your views. Do you want to tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, and what you do?
Sure. My name is Michelle Rouady. I'm an actor from Sydney, Australia, and I accidentally fell into the music industry. The reason I fell into the music industry is I am writing and developing my own feature film, and
Awesome.
I have released a short film in the past. And I just thought, I think I want to write my own song so that it really resonates with the audience and with the actors, and this works.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to have an amazing mentor. His name is Lawrence. And basically, he's been my mentor and my angel throughout the whole process. And yeah, here I am thinking, oh, I'll write 8 songs, and then 22 songs later.
As it takes.
Yeah,
Oh, well done to you. And how long has
thank
that
you.
taken you to literally get to where you are today?
I think that I first had the idea a couple of years ago, and the name of the film is My Inner Child. So the first song was My Inner Child, and it basically talks about who are we today, and did we waste our time, and do we want to go back, and do we have regret? And it basically talks about, where did she go, the child inside? We lose
Oh,
our innocence, and so the film basically will talk about different actors in different places in their lives, and I hope that it resonates with everybody. And if not, it's a story that I've wanted to share for a long time.
very inspirational. However, it does sound vulnerable. So how do
It's
you
very vulnerable.
ability?
Very vulnerable, and you'll see that if you look at the music, all of the songs I've written they've come from grief, loss, anger, realizing that everything's going to be okay. So there's so many different songs with so many different emotions. So it's quite a roller coaster.
I can imagine. And that's like life itself, isn't it? Did you get that from your
Totally.
own journey and your own life story? Is that where a lot of this music comes from?
I think so. I grew up, I think you call it state housing in the UK, but it's Housing Commission in Sydney, Australia. And I took my life story starting from being that young, vulnerable, innocent child to the strong, empowered woman I'm feeling now by the time I got to writing the end of all
Well
of the songs. And yeah, and I honestly believe it's been so cathartic and therapeutic, and bringing people along for this journey. And I believe that it has resonated from what I've heard so far. So, well,
well
I'm
done.
not the only one. We're all going through our own
Yeah.
emotions and roller coasters and realizations.
And I think that's a part of it, isn't it? It's about being authentic as well and telling a story that people can relate to. And when you're telling a story, do you tell that from your heart and your own personal experiences and try and keep that as personal as possible? Or do you try and
Yeah,
relate that to as many people as you can?
I think first of all, it comes from myself. So I wake up at 2 in the morning with these thoughts and feelings, and I just have to write them down. And I've written about this in the songs. And I believe it comes from my heart, but
Oh,
it does resonate with people because we're all feeling the same way. We're all vulnerable. We're all have our insecurities, and then we all have our triumphs and our good and our bad days. So I believe that it does resonate depending on what path or where you are in your own journey.
well done for doing that. I think that's really inspirational and empowering
Thank
for a lot
you.
of people, that are struggling right now. And I think music is a good way of having a universal language that can kind of resonate with people, whether it be through expression or art or creativity. And that's something that you're really, really pushing the boundaries on. And how long have you done that for? And did you have a musical education or did you just do that as a passion?
Honestly, it's a passion. So I've, as I said, come from a place of, excuse me, I've come from a place of, vulnerability when I was young, and a few things happened when I was young. And, as a woman, I have 3 daughters of my own now. And, I want young people to feel like you're okay, you're not alone. And I hope my writing helps somebody as a mentor, as I'm 50 now. So
You don't look
I,
it. You don't look
thank
it.
you. Who would have thought I would be co-writing a rap song at the age of
Yeah,
50? So one of the songs is a rap song. Like
well
it's just
done.
crazy where
It's
this
a
journey has
milestone,
taken.
regardless of
Yeah.
your age. I think, sometimes I think it's not about age, it's about experience. and it's about what you've been through and your journey. And to share that journey with people and be open and inclusive with that journey is such an amazing thing to do. So thank you
Yeah, I
very much.
agree.
And never say you're too old because that's totally not true. You know.
I believe what do they say? You're at a certain level now because you've advanced to the next level. So I feel like it's a bit of that. It's that life experience, and hopefully somebody that might be in their 20s will hear this or hear the songs and be like, okay, it's going to be okay. So my wisdom and my age and my
And
experience maybe will help
experience.
somebody that's unsure or insecure. Yeah.
Definitely. And what kind of struggles and barriers have you faced, especially being a woman and being underrepresented in the industry? You know, what kind of challenges and barriers have you faced and overcome to get to where you are today?
To be honest, I've been extremely fortunate to align myself and collaborate with amazing people that I've met in the acting world. So we're already in that creative realm.
Yeah.
My only challenges are within my own head. You know, that imposter syndrome, and should I be directing this film? And I'm behind the camera giving directions to a crew thinking, do they think that I'm a fake or that I'm not up for the
Yeah.
job? And that's
Yeah.
my own inner talk, and it's not true. Like, of course we can do it, of course we're experienced enough because we're here, we've gotten here, so we're already winning.
We are. But Michelle, do you
Yeah.
think a lot of this stems from childhood and the way we were
Uh,
brought up?
yeah, I do. I totally do. I was brought up in a single parent household. I believe that where you come from really starts to affect who you are as an adult and what your path is. I've decided to make mine a positive path by sharing this and hopefully mentoring people in the future. So yeah, I think I know where I want to go with this.
That's
I'd
awesome.
love to help young musicians that maybe don't have the ability to get in the studio and maybe write with them and help them. I've spoken to my producer, who's wonderful, Jono Fernandez, who's helped me with my million questions because I didn't even know what a bridge was in the music.
We've all got
So
that. We've all got
exactly. So,
that.
I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by amazing people that have helped me with my own insecurities and
Mm.
singers that are so talented. I'm not sure if it's the same in UK, but there's so many singers that are not discovered that are just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yes, I see that all the time actually. And I think it's
Yeah.
about perseverance, but it's also about being authentic, being original, bringing something new to the table,
Yes.
and trying to offer the audience something that they haven't already had, you know? So what kind of advice, because you're doing something completely different. Yeah, you know, you're cutting edge, you're on the verges of pushing those boundaries. That's not easy, Michelle. How do you deal with that? And how have you managed to cope with that?
Honestly, I would say you need cheerleaders. So if you have people around you that believe in you, and I've written about this in a song called You Are Worthy,
Yeah.
believe in yourself, you are worthy. If somebody says no and that door shuts, that wasn't the door that was meant for you. So my theory is just keep going, just keep trying. So I guess just keep pushing.
And it can be disheartening at times. And has that affected you and the way you feel about yourself? And you know,
Com
your place in the music industry, especially as a woman, and not just in music and entertainment, it's also entertainment, because we cross over as well.
Yes. So for me, I guess the acting, sometimes, you could go for 50 self-tapes during COVID. We kind of switched over to self-tapes. I'm not sure if it was the same in the UK in the acting scene. So not so many face-to-face. And you could put in 20 self-tapes and get 20 rejections. And you're starting to think,
Yeah.
is there something wrong with me physically?
Is it
It's
me?
literally, yeah, it's literally you as an actor need to have the backbone of steel to be able to portray yourself. You need to have, the beautiful emotional feelings to portray what the actor needs. But then you also need to have a backbone of steel to take the rejection that you may get. If your eyes are the wrong color, you might be a little short, or, it's not personal. It's just what casting needs. And now being on the other side of the camera as casting for my own film, I understand from a casting point of view, it's nothing brutal, it's nothing personal, it's just what's required for the film.
I totally understand that, Michelle, but I think a lot of people, you know, when they're going through auditions, when they're trying to get their dream or reach that dream, they do take it personally. What kind of advice would you give to people that say, look, maybe you're on a learning curve, maybe you've got to try a little bit harder, maybe you've got to expand and develop a little bit more, you know,
Yes,
kind of advice would you give to people that would take it personally and say, actually,
Yes. So if you've got an agent, speak to your agent, maybe find out if there's an acting class or if there's somebody that can mentor you that's older or has been through this. There's weekend workshops if you work full time and this is your hobby.
yeah,
Um, Surround yourself with like-minded people. I know in Sydney, occasionally actors get together for like coffee dates, or there's theatre productions that desperately need actors. Jump on just as a small part, jump on a student film. Student films are a really good way to get your foot in the door. That's how I started.
yeah,
So just surround yourself with people that appreciate you and you're going to learn from, and don't take anything personally because in this industry, you just need to be with people that are going to lift you up and not feel like you're pulling yourself down because it's mainly your own mind. I
right.
don't feel like anybody intentionally wants you to feel bad. I think it's just keep going. That's all I can say. Keep going.
And also building resilience, because I think that's really important if you want to make it in an industry, especially the
Yep,
entertainment industries. It can be really
I agree.
challenging, very competitive. What kind of
Yep.
advice would you give to building resilience and perseverance? Because they're really important parts of it, aren't they?
Building resilience. Honestly, I'll go back to I think get into a theatre production group. There's such a family and orientation of beautiful people that it's like a team.
Yeah,
Get onto student films. Just start small. Try not to do everything at once. I've been guilty of that, and you'll burn out.
yes.
Burnout's a big thing in this industry. So start small and take the pressure off yourself. We're all just trying to, we all want to be heard, I guess, but just just be around cheerleaders and mentors is my advice.
And do you know what else I found, Michelle, is it's okay being part of a group, but also having a voice and trying to advocate for something and trying to push for change and trying to change narratives and trying to be unique. I think it's really, really important today because there's a lot of people that kind of want to make something, but they don't have a voice. They don't know what they represent. They don't have that identity. How important would you say identity is today? You know,
Identity is so important. Being yourself and authentic is so important. That's how you resonate with other people that are not dealing very well with the industry or not feeling like they can be themselves. If you open that door for them, then they can be themselves too. So if you start a chain reaction and you're authentic, then they're going to feel like they can resonate with that as well.
which I think is great. And it's also part of
Mhm.
building that community, which you've already talked about, and networking, collaboration. You know, in film and I don't know if it's the same as music, but really it's about collaboration, team building, and networking. Is that the same in the film industry that is in the music industry?
120 million percent. I believe that I couldn't do what I've done without an amazing producer, amazing mentors. These singers that I have gotten on board have blown me away.
Awesome.
They've helped me. They say I helped them, but they've really helped me.
Teamwork.
Gotten the vision across that I wanted because I sing to my steering wheel. I'm not really much of a singer. And the artists, the visions and the thoughts that I had for the projects, they've just come along. So totally don't feel like you have to do everything on your own and ask for help. And if that person can't help you, then there'll be another group of people that can. So
Yes,
don't give
I
up.
agree. I totally agree with you, and thank you for sharing that with us. What's your thoughts and feelings at the moment around equality, diversity, inclusion, especially in Australia? We haven't really touched much on Australia at the moment in the podcast, so I'd love
Yeah,
to know more.
I have definitely seen a shift in the last 12 to 18 months.
Yes,
There's definitely a lot more inclusion, acceptance. Um, yeah, I've definitely seen a shift in Australia for sure. Yeah,
brilliant. You've got a lot of
yeah.
indigenous communities as
Yes,
well, like Canada has. So how are
yes.
you kind of dealing with that and repaying the indigenous communities, you know, that are underrepresented and disadvantaged in Australia?
Yes, I feel like they are definitely underrepresented, but it's improving. It's a trickle, but we're getting there. We're getting there, and yeah, definitely a lot more that can be done, a lot more doors that need to be open, a lot more discussions that need to be had with our First Nations people to see what they need.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely a shift in acceptance and equality, I believe.
And do you see
Yeah.
more education and more roles being open to different and underrepresented groups across Australia as well? Do you see that change?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. There's been a change. Yes. And I'm mindful of that when I'm casting as well. It can't just be one race. It needs to be, diverse.
And representation of
Everybody.
the communities in which we live, right?
Exactly. I agree.
Fantastic. And what would you like to see improve in the next few years across the entertainment industries if you could see that change?
Oh, that's a tough one. There's so many avenues we could go down, isn't there?
You
I just believe
could.
I just believe from my personal experience that if you collaborate and find the right people,
Yes.
that you can create your own films, you can create your own music, and there is an acceptance. You resonate and be honest and vulnerable
Yes.
and give your
This is
true
always
self, you'll be accepted. Yeah, I do believe that it's all about authenticity. Like, I just think that if you are honest, believe in yourself, surround yourself with your cheerleaders, there will be a shift. There is a shift. I feel there is a shift.
And Michelle, I feel a vulnerability within you that I feel within myself. And sometimes we can be shy, and sometimes we're not always open, and sometimes we're not always, open to kind of networking and meeting new people. And I think that's really important part of where we are right now. What kind of advice would you give to people that are quite introverted, that are not always open to meeting new people, that couldn't always, go out there and network?
Um, Social media is an amazing tool. As much as it has its downfalls and we are addicted, unfortunately, it does have its place. I believe that that's what helped me. One of the singers that I work with, his name's Curtis. I found him through a Facebook post. I literally was looking for a guitarist, and somebody tagged his name. So if you're not comfortable speaking to somebody, start with, just social media, having messages, going through a messenger app, or Threads is really good too. That's
That's
a
how we
new, I don't
met.
know if you, I love, that's how we met. Like,
Yeah.
that's how you communicate. So if you're shy and you don't want to chat, I believe that social media has its place for sure. And
Okay.
especially, like, I know on my own social media page, I've got a lot of actors and a lot of film professionals and a lot of music industry contacts. So that's all through social media. And I've not met a lot of these people, but we have like-minded, conversations, maybe through Messenger, but I've never actually chatted to them. So definitely use messaging.
And what's it like in the film industry for women? How underrepresented are women and gender diverse people at the moment, especially in Australia? We're looking at specifically Australia right now. What they
Specifically Australia. Personally, I feel it's actually getting better. Like, I'm not sure if you saw Demi Moore's speech the other day,
didn't
for
actually. I
women.
should. I will check it out.
Yeah, please do. I believe that it's definitely getting better. There's, always room for improvement, but I do believe that it is getting better. Like, myself, I feel like other roles not there as much for women over 50, but there are particular roles that are there for over 50 that aren't there for the 18 to 25 age group. So I guess you just need to find again your like-minded people, your group of, I've got an amazing group of girlfriends that are in my age group, and create your own stuff. This is my
Yeah.
biggest message, because sometimes you get frustrated that you're not getting a role, which I have been and we all have been.
Yeah.
Create your own short film, grab an iPhone. Like, you don't need to have the latest, cameras and equipment,
Yeah.
and just experiment, put it into a short film festival. And that's how I started. So if you're not satisfied with being able to attain those roles, then start creating your own stories and creating your own videos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the same with music as well, Michelle. And I think it's more about passion because I think a lot of people want to come into an industry like ours and think it's about money. And a
No,
lot of the time it's really not, is it? Do you want to
it's
explain
not about money. I can attest to that. I'm spending more
instead?
than I'm earning.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, isn't it? Is some people want to come into the industry because they look at the glitz and the glam. However, when you dig a little bit deeper, it's about passion, perseverance, and a lot of failure. And how have you dealt with that along your journey?
Um, I don't like to think of it as failure. I like to think of it as a learning experience and to do something differently the next time. So for me, it's lessons.
Yeah.
Written about that in another song too. It's pretty much I've covered. what we're talking about. But basically, I see it as lessons learnt, wisdom earned.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And kind of, do you think age and cultural differences have an impact on the equality and diversity we can achieve at the moment?
Yeah, yeah. I think that everybody needs to be represented because we all have a story to tell. We all
Yeah.
have different stories to tell. We're not all the same.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, if you take the time to get to know people and find out their histories and find out their stories, because it's a very me, me, me society at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, and if you just sit down and it's fascinating what you will find out. Like I've known people for a year or so and then recently found out, I won't go into the details, but I've recently found out something huge about that person. And I think if you just ask and you take the time, then their story should be heard as well.
And I think a lot of people in the arts have struggles. They've been through a lot of dark places in order to create that light. And I'm sure you might have been through the same. Like, how do you think that shaped you and your personality and, what you bring to the table?
I almost feel like, and I get told this a lot on set that I'm a mother hen. Um, and
I
I think
love
that's
that.
because I I wish that somebody had been a mother hen for me when I was younger and trying to find my way. And I didn't start off in the creative industry. I'm actually from the corporate world.
Wow.
So yeah, so that can be quite brutal within itself as well. And I've taken a bit of what I've learned from that world into the creative world as well. And I'm quite organized at producing, so that's good. But yeah, getting back to the question is what was the question?
Oh, I'm so
Sorry.
sorry. It was like, how do you, I've even forgot myself now. Like, how would you transfer something? I was thinking about something else and I've just completely gone off. It was about transferring other skills that I went on to in my brain. But I was thinking
Yes.
about like how you represent yourself and how, some of the challenges that you've had to deal with have shaped you as a person today.
I think that, sorry, I did go off kilter there a little while. That's why
I
so I
apologize.
think it honestly just comes down to being authentic, being yourself, laying your cards on the table. This is who I am, and this is what I'm hoping to achieve. And people are drawn to that, the honesty and the vulnerability.
Yeah.
And yeah, this really resonates with me too. I'd love to jump on board, or this is a story that, affected me too. So I think just being authentic.
It is really, really important as well. But I think it takes a lot of courage and resilience and confidence to do so. Do you have any techniques or skills that you could pass on to other people that might just be starting out and saying, do you know what? I might not be confident. I might be an introvert or I'm not too sure. You know what I mean? Because I think we all deal with that internally ourselves as well.
Um, Personally, for me, I wrote it all down. So, what do I want? This is how the music started as well. What do I want to achieve? What are my goals? Oh, I guess that's all the same sort of thing, but it's write it all down, give yourself a clear path, and that path veers. So what you have in your mind isn't necessarily how it's going to pan out,
Right,
but have a
right.
plan, some sort of plan, and be open to opportunities that you weren't expecting or you can divert to a different way. Like, look at me, acting to music and not even being able to sing properly, but being able to get these people on board that can share my vision. And wow, I'm so glad I did it. And I'm so glad that I didn't just stay in my lane because look who I've met and collaborated with, and look what we've created. So,
Well done, you.
um, write down a guide of what you'd like to do, but don't be scared to veer off that road.
And I'll be honest with you, Michelle, I want to be an entertainer. And I don't hear
Yes.
many people saying, I want to be an entertainer. Now, I look at a lot of people and I aspire to be like somebody, but I do generally look at entertainers that can sing, dance, act. They do the whole round robin, really.
Yes.
The advice you give to people that want to do that, and I'm sure you've done a lot of that yourself. You've done music, you've done film, you've done acting, you've done singing, you've done dancing. How did you navigate that as well? Like, because that's a lot.
Again, I would find like-minded people, get a mentor. If there's a club that you frequent, speak to the manager at the club if you'd like to entertain at a club or at a venue. Get to know the people behind the people that organize. So I guess the producers that would organize the talent. Get to know them. Maybe volunteer to start with, so that you can experiment and get your name on the list, perhaps. So yeah, with student films, they're voluntary. That's how I started. That's how I got my first speaking role. So it was a web series.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so treat it as work experience.
I think so.
And
And
don't
building that knowledge and those experiences and also those meaningful relationships. How important would you say meaningful relationships are as well?
So important. I wouldn't be able to promote the music or feel as confident about what I'm sharing without the collaboration I've had with these amazing artists and these amazing mentors that have helped me along the way to be able to get to where I am today. So definitely don't be shy about speaking to people and have fun.
Yes.
Life's too short. Like we take ourselves so seriously and we stress about the silliest things and we're all in our own heads, let's admit it. It's not necessary. Just have fun with it, be light and free, and then you'll attract that energy as well.
That's awesome. I
Yeah,
actually really, really like hearing that because I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves.
we
We
do.
need to get somewhere to be seen and to be heard. Because a lot of the time we are underrepresented and we're unheard. And I think lots of people that come into the industry have suffered in different ways that they feel unheard. So how
Yeah.
can we make sure that people are supported? They might have mental health issues, they might have
Yeah.
different vulnerabilities. How can we make
Yeah.
sure they're not taken advantage of in an industry that does take advantage of people? It's a fact that we know for many years.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, that's a tough one, but I think you need to be your own advocate. If you, as a person, have a gut feeling something's not right, and I have before too, run.
Yeah, good
Like,
idea. Probably
don't
always.
walk, run. So if you have a feeling something's not right, it probably isn't. If you have an ick feeling about something, don't stay. Close that door. Go to the next door that will be open for you. Speak to mentors. Speak to people in the industry that have experienced this that may be older than you, and get advice.
And I've always had a mentor, actually. I've always had someone that's been in the industry for a good 15, 20 years that can pass
Fantastic.
on knowledge and advice to me. I think that's extremely important. But I think a lot of people have forgotten about mentors today or a coach. If you want to be a professional at something, even if you're an athlete, you've got to have someone that's training you, that's giving you advice, that's giving you knowledge. What kind of advice would you give to people that want to find a coach or a mentor that doesn't have much money, that's from an underrepresented group? Where could they find one or how would they find one?
So in Australia for acting, you can start off as an extra. So just a background extra in film, and you don't need to pay to become an extra. You just need some headshots. And again, with the technology of the iPhones these days, you can just take a few headshots to start with. So somebody that's been in the industry for a while or that's recommended by your friends, maybe they're an agent. So if you're starting off as an extra, that's the first step into the door. That's how I started. And I still do extra work because I've met some amazing people just networking as an extra. So it's all creative opportunity. And you're getting paid to be an extra. There's a lot of sitting around. It's not as glamorous like what you said, as people say it is, but I have made so many beautiful friendships through extra work, through acting work, through music work. So I think finding an agent or finding somebody that has an agent that can help you get into the industry, that would be my advice for someone new starting out.
100%, Michelle. And I think it's also about building trust and confidence with people that might not necessarily know you as a person. How would you navigate that as a beginner and trying to prove yourself and be reliable, but also, showing your skills?
You said it in a nutshell. Honestly, show up, be reliable, um, be available as much as you can. So if your agent is contacting you, be available as much as you can because they will call you back. If you're reliable, they know you're not going to flake on them. They know that you're somebody that's solid, then you will be called back.
Yeah,
And don't try too hard. Sometimes we get ahead of ourselves. Like just be there, know that you've been selected. That's already winning half the game. So if you're on set, you've already been picked and selected by the casting director. But be reliable. I think when you're on set in and learning in music, I think be curious
yes,
and
open.
learn. Just
Yeah,
observe. Like, for me, I've even got a notepad that says keep being curious. So
100.
just watch, learn, observe, watch the professionals, don't interact, just watch and sit back and learn. Be trustworthy, be reliable, and you will get better and better and you'll meet people. And yeah, I just think just start off small and don't try and be a star to start with. You know, we're not all destined
We
to
all
be stars,
try,
but
you
what
know.
is a star? We all make our mark in different ways. You don't necessarily need to be an A-lister to
Yeah.
make a mark and resonate, but just observe, take on advice, and take on advice that works for you. Don't necessarily take on advice that won't work for you.
And I think learning is also a massive part of that, isn't it?
Learning is where we get to today from learning. And you can't be proud, I think, as well as a big thing. Sometimes egos get in the way.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
so listen, observe, take criticism if you need to, take it on board. Don't take it personally. Somebody's trying to help you, like that's great if they're trying to help you.
Awesome. Thank you ever so much, Michelle, because I really resonate with what you say. Because, sometimes they've even taken it personally and it's not personal. And I keep saying, Sass, don't take that personally. It's part of a learning curve, it's part of the journey and enjoy it. All of those things you've said are super important because I think
Thank you.
people are in an industry, they don't enjoy it. They don't love what they do. I do it as a passion. I'm sure you do as well. And that's
Totally.
seed, isn't it? It's about being in the right place, meeting the right people, and doing the right things.
Yeah. And have faith in yourself. I think that we're our worst critic. Have
Yes.
faith in yourself. If you feel insecure about what you're doing, maybe get advice from a trusted friend and what do you think of this? But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you're telling the story and everyone's invited.
Yes. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful way of putting it, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you ever
Yeah.
so much, Michelle. And if people want to find out more about you, the work you do, or if they want to connect with you, how could they do so?
I'm on Instagram as MCR Creates, Michelle Rouady. I have a Spotify music page, MCR Creates, which we are currently establishing as an album, but it's not quite out yet. I have 3 songs left. I have plenty more to
Great.
say.
I can't wait.
Um,
Let me go
and that
for.
will be, yeah, and that will be the soundtrack for our feature film. So that's where you'll find me, Spotify and Instagram.
Awesome. I'll leave all the links in the description below. We've got literally 3 minutes left. Is there any ways that any major wins or successes you would like to share with us before you leave?
Yes, we've started just recently to get some traction on one of our songs on Spotify, which is very exciting to me. So, one of the songs is called Old Soul, and
Okay.
I co-wrote that with an amazing singer, Tess Fapani. She's from the Sunshine Coast in sunny Queensland, and
Awesome.
that's starting to gain some traction. We've recently completed 2 music videos, which will be coming out for one's about mental health. It's called Candle in the Dark
Yeah.
with an amazing singer who was actually from the UK originally. His name is Curtis Finch,
Okay.
and that's coming out. And another music video, Glow. And then we are in development for our feature film, which is going to take up a lot of time.
Well, that sounds amazing.
So a lot happening, a lot of adrenaline, but
Well
it's good.
done.
It's all passion. I'm so passionate about it, and I love bringing like-minded people on board. So I'm very excited about what stories we'll be able to share and tell, and hopefully resonate with other people.
I'm wishing you all the best with that. And thank you ever so much for sharing. I'll make sure that people can find all the links in the descriptions of everything you've talked about today. And I
Thank
just
you.
thank you ever so much again from coming all the way from Australia early in the morning. It's late at night here and you're early in the morning. And I just want to say how awesome you are, how amazing you are doing, and just keep up the amazing work. We appreciate you.
And I appreciate you, and you're doing amazing work. And I can't wait to see how the interview turns out. And I thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you ever so much, Michelle. We'll speak soon.
Thank you.
Keep
Thank
in touch.
you.
Bye.
Bye.